Welcome to episode 15 of Nancy Gets Freaking Strong. Week 15 is my week in New Zealand, but I'm actually going to steal some of this time and talk about today's squats. So, week 16, day 1. So, finding my 5RM. The best set I had ever done for squats was actually all the way back in November. Did not, I think I just accumulated a ton of fatigue in December and January, and I just never beat that. So in November, I hit 245 pounds for 5. So, I mean, having been, about 3 months or so, and having come back from vacation, I figured that, at the very least, I should be able to do 250. For 5, so that was the PR that I was going to work towards, and while trying to figure out what my new 5 rep max was going to be. So basically what happened was I did a ton of warm-ups to make sure that I was doing everything correctly, and then I figured that I would go for 235 for 5 to see how that felt, and I finished that only for it to feel really terrible. And reviewing the footage of it right after I did it, realized that I was doing 235 good mornings. It was pretty bad. Like, it was the worst that my form had ever looked. My friend Michael pointed out that the bar was too high on my back for low bar, and suggested that maybe if I set up with a lower bar that I could have better form. So I went ahead and did 235 for one single. Looked way better, came up much faster. And so then the ego in me, because I am pretty hungry for good lifts, especially since I'm just so close but not yet there in my based on estimations for qualifying for Raw Nationals. So I went ahead, loaded up 250, tried to go for 5, and ended up failing on the 4th rep. What actually happened was I go down into the hole, and then I realized I can't make it, and then I actually muscle it up for like an inch or so before giving up and failing. So that was pretty much a pretty big bummer, especially since I can't beat my 5 rep max from like 3 months ago. I've been doing all this training, and I guess the noob gains are slowly weaning off. I guess, though, to be fair, my bench, which had stalled in my previous programming that I had been doing like maybe half a year ago, I had been plateauing hard, and now all of a sudden I'm seeing bench go up. So I guess overall, I can't really complain, but it kind of sucks. Though, to be honest, I think that, because I was fatigued with the 235s, doing them as good mornings, my true 5RM might be a tad bit higher, but I just went ahead and did today's programming based on that 235 5 rep max. So that's just kind of what I want to talk about in terms of today's lifts. Now I actually want to do my week 15 recap. So partially, another reason why maybe my squats didn't go so well today is, number one, I just flew in yesterday and had been traveling for over 24 hours because, in order to find the cheapest flights, we had 2 connections. So we went from Auckland to Fiji. Fortunately, I didn't get to spend any time like in real Fiji, just in a tiny little sweaty airport. Auckland to Fiji, Fiji to LA, and then LA to Seattle. So that travel time is over 24 hours, so my sleep hasn't been the best. That and the fact that during vacation, I didn't necessarily get the most amount of rest, because since I went with a CrossFitter, and then the other guy was also very interested in, exercising or whatever. So we ended up, during my 11 days of vacation, we went twice to a powerlifting gym, and I ended up doing 3 WODs, CrossFit WODs. and I'm not a very experienced CrossFitter, but I learned how to clean and jerk and how to scale muscle ups and that sort of stuff. I didn't push myself really. I made sure not to push myself too much in terms of like strength for the CrossFit WODs, as well as the time I spent powerlifting. Just because I knew that I was supposed to be resting and that I would be coming back to some pretty serious powerlifting training. However, I did definitely try to push myself for that anaerobic, I guess. I don't know the science behind it, but basically, because there were tons of sprints and jump ropes and burpees and that kind of stuff, I pushed myself in terms of like heart rate. And trying not to rest too much. But in terms of strength, you know, I made for my clean and jerks, I basically did the bar, which I know I can probably do a lot more, but I know that my form is probably shit because I have no experience doing clean and jerks. I've been powerlifting for about almost 2 years now, and you know, my form is could still use a lot of improvement. So I like know that I'm not even going to try to max any kind of Olympic lifts. So yeah, did a lot of exercise during my vacation. And not only that, the days we didn't exercise, we ended up doing pretty active things. One of the days we did a ropes course, which was terrifying. Included climbing up this really, really high pole and then jumping off of it to a trapeze bar. Fortunately, all the squatting that I've done was really helpful for doing doing a third world, because you had to climb onto it and then put your feet on top of it, but the top of the, it was like a telephone pole, basically, was really small. It barely fit, I couldn't fit my 2 feet and my hands on it, so I had to very carefully squat up. So all the squatting definitely came up, was useful. And then also, I didn't know if I was going to make the trapeze bar. Basically, you have to jump from that onto this swing kind of thing. But fortunately, my vertical is pretty good because I squat so much. So that was a terrifying moment, but also a moment that I'm proud of because I made it. And there's also kind of like a swing that was sort of like a bungee. Basically, you jump off a really high platform and you're just attached to a harness. You kind of swing back and forth a ton. And that was terrifying. So that was one of the days. Another day, we went caving. Basically, I think it's abseiling. I get abseiling and rappelling mixed up, but basically you're tied into a harness on a rope. You go down really deep by lowering yourself on this rope into a cave, and inside the cave we did zip lining in the dark, and we also there's tons of water in the cave, so we floated on tubies, and the caves have tons of glowworms, and they're little worms that are on the top of the caves and look like stars. It was fascinating. I've never seen anything like it before. Spent a ton of money to do that. Spent a lot of time doing it. I think it was 5 hours, but it was such a good experience. And there was a lot of moving around, and we also free climbed up a waterfall to get out of the cave, which was pretty cool. So that was one day, and then another day we went canyoning, which was basically the same thing, going down a rope in a harness, but instead of deep down inside a cave, it was outside over cliffs and waterfalls. Considering the viewer has made it this far, I'm actually going to take a quick second to grab my phone to show you pictures of what it actually looks like. So give me 1 second. I am too technologically backwards to edit my films, so I'm just going to do this in one go. So feel free to fast forward to when I come back. I'm also too technologically backwards to edit this to put pictures, which usually is what YouTubers do. Instead, I'm just going to show you pictures on my phone. So here's a picture of me. Oh God, this is not going to work. What if I just hold it up really close? Here, there we go. There's a picture of me canyoning. Basically, I go down this cliff and into water on a tiny little rope. It's pretty terrifying. Let's see. Where are the caving pictures? Sorry. Here's an example of the glowworms. This picture doesn't really do it too much. Oh gosh, there's so much reflection. Too much justice. But there's just tons and tons and tons of glowworms. It looks like a constellation, like more than just a constellation. It looks like multiple galaxies. A little bit like the Milky Way. Alright, I'm not going to make you suffer through any more pictures. Anyways, that was the trip. In my past... or in the week before, when I talk about the recap and I say I'm really excited to stay at this fat cat hostel and how I would love to have, a hostel full of fat cats. Yeah, it was not a hostel full of overweight cats. We showed up and we were like, what the hell is this place? It looked a little sketch. And then we asked somebody, we were, getting introduced and settling in. And then I asked somebody, hey, how many cats do you guys have? And then the guy looked at me and he was just like, what? Cats? Yeah, no fat cats. What it actually turned out to be was a conscious, like sustainable, vegan hippie hostel, which was totally cool in its own self. They had showers that were, one of them was a solar powered shower and the other one was a shower that was warmed by urine. Not a urine shower, which is what everybody thinks when I'm telling them this story, but basically they take the urine from one of the bathrooms, and which is like these like little boxes, like porta potties essentially, but built out of, but it looks like a shed because it's not plastic. They take the urine and then they put it in this like thing that surrounds the water, so the water's warmed by the urine, but it's not like actually in the urine. They take all the human poop and they turn it into compost and fertilizer. Nothing is wasted on this premise. And it's actually a place for woofers, which are people who work for, and in particular at this place, they sell fruit during the day, and then in exchange for working, they aren't paid, but they get a place to stay as well as food. So there was breakfast provided and dinner provided, and it was all vegan. And it was all prepared by people in this hostel. This hostel was like this tiny little house, and there were maybe 50 people crammed into it. During dinner time, there's like this one general room that's supposed to be the dining room. Like nobody, like not everybody can even fit in there. Everybody just kind of spills out, and there are all these people there that are like German, French, Canadian. They're mostly white people, but mostly Europeans, and some Canadians, some Australians. And they're all people who are like free floaters, people who take multiple years off, after graduating high school or so, and just love to travel and do it by woofing, as well as finding odd jobs such as babysitting or, being a waitress or something like that. I mean, I work in corporate America, and it was just so different. Everybody was so friendly and so nice. It was a fantastic experience. I don't know if I would be able to stay there for, I don't know. I probably would. It wouldn't be my first choice for like a long-term stay. I mean, some of these people had been there for, 4 months, staying at this place. I don't think I could spend my entire day selling fruit on the streets and then, I don't know, coming home to like so many people. I'm just such a introvert that I can't stand huge crowds constantly. So, definitely not my first choice, but I'm so happy to have had that experience because it was definitely pretty eye-opening, and we met so many friendly people. Um, yeah, so I think that's all there is to say about New Zealand. Before I chatter your screen off, overall, I had a really good experience. It did help kick my ass into getting back into track. I start my new job next week. I ate like shit and enjoyed the hell out of it on vacation. Came back about 6 pounds heavier. Probably water weight, maybe not water weight. It doesn't matter because I'm still, you know, pretty much in the middle of my weight class. So it doesn't really matter which direction I go at this moment. So whatever. But yeah, I ate like crap and really enjoyed the junk food. But now I'm super motivated to get back to cleaner eating. Not that, I don't know. I mean, I don't really buy into the whole like this food is clean and this food is dirty and there's this like I don't know, superstitious moral like goodness to certain foods and not other foods. But I mean, generally, I would say like fried food isn't conducive to nutrition and um, recovery for powerlifting. So, I mean, it definitely helps with the caloric intake, but I'm not really trying to bulk. So, in that case, I don't think like this kind of nutritionally devoid food is necessarily helpful for me. So, right now, I'm trying to go back to eating more vegetables, which I don't think is a bad thing. I do enjoy eating vegetables. So, anyways, yeah, feeling definitely a kick in the butt. Kind of sad about squats today, but it is what it is. Yeah. All right, so this concludes a very, very long episode 15. Until next week. I had a lot of caffeine today in order to stay awake.